but most importantly, what are the mechanisms? And then, what are the liabilities of U.S. capitalism? And what I've done here is I have identified 9 aspects of capitalism, of U.S. capitalism, and Anthropocene capitalism. I'm not talking about all capitalism from the beginning of capitalism. That's 700 years old. I'm talking about now. In the United States, since 1945, what are the aspects of it? I haven't covered it all. Why, hell, it would be 3 times 9, wouldn't it? To really get it analyzed properly. But here are 9. And the first being, they're not necessarily in an order of priority of importance. I'm not that smart. I don't know that much about capitalism. But it's 9 characteristics. Accumulation. My God, I grew up in a little town in Arkansas. And I grew up in a businessman's family. And all of that was such a powerful motive to accumulate for me and my family. And was there someone?
The shepherd, Aubrey just walked out.
Oh, Aubrey's gone. Oh, yes.
He'll be back.
Okay, so here's the way I do it. I identify a feature of capitalism. No. I say, what is it? Well, it's the drive for personal property. What are the liabilities? Inequality, poverty, accentuation of class gaps, and on and on. Then I ask myself, well, what does that have to do with climate? What does that have to do with climate catastrophe? So I was thinking, unequal economic adaptations to climate change. If we're not all equal in our little chicken hut, we're drastically different. And that's one of the liabilities, the class gaps of this country. I'll tell you a feature that I left out, which I should have maybe made first, and that is the unsteadiness of the economic system, that we're constantly falling into these god-awful depressions and recessions that are so disastrous. I learned today that the University of Arkansas has lost, was it $100 million?
148.
You have such good memory. That $148 million. That's talking to me personally. I really felt that.
How did they lose it?
What?
How did they lose it?
Bad investments.
Throwing the bus?
Well, it's the system, you see. Mr. Angus would say, well, it's inevitable.
Well, it was also, it was some kind of economic drop. What did it say? Do you remember? That was,
Well, the article was so
it was
good,
the
I couldn't
investments, their
understand.
investments were not doing well, and the amount of money that was coming in did not balance the amount of money that was lost, something like that.
Yes, their gifts have decreased.
Right.
But they haven't lost in the past, and at least in certain periods, but surely during the recession, the same thing happened, in which whole pensions are wiped out. Teachers' pensions, you know that. You've read this in the paper. Capitalism is just awful that way. But I didn't think of that at the time I was making my 9. Write down 10 for me. And then a third category is, well, what's the alternative to capital accumulation, obsession for personal profit? And so I suggest what the Marxists call the labor theory of value. Not the cash or monetary theory of value, but the labor theory of value. Don't ask me to explain that. Altruism is an alternative. Equality as an ideal, and that's in our Declaration of Independence. When people talk about the troops defending the United States, they always say freedom. Well, damn it, it's not only freedom in the Declaration, it's freedom and equality always. Cooperation, a cooperative society, society of co-ops, the welfare of all, a welfare society. These are alternatives to the capital accumulation obsession of capitalism. 2, growth. Growth. I'm looking at my time now. We're going to stop at 3. I'll just do one more. Growth. and then I'll list the others.
So we'll do 40.
What are the what are the liabilities of growth? Well, and this is complicated to me, but I have read several books that include chapters on the planetary boundaries. That we have, that nature has certain boundaries beyond which you're screwing us up bad. And growth, the eternal drive for growth, there were 4 articles on growth in today's Arkansas Gazette of the business page. Aspects of growth, no one seems to have gotten the word about growth.
Certainly not in the business community.
Not at all.
Yeah.
The exhaustion of resources is another liability of growth.
That's been a theme of this group, really, a very good theme.
It has. We've known this for 15 years here. Haven't we been doing this for 30 years? 50, it seems like a
Who
long
was
time.
Hamburg we mentioned? He's really.
Well, there's an economic school of thought called the cornucopians that think that the earth is inexhaustible. If we,
Yes,
we get
I read that.
we get rid of all the iron ore, we'll just switch to aluminum. But the earth is, most people don't appreciate that there's certain fixed limits on the ecosystem. And the basis of the whole ecosystem is photosynthesis. And that's, humans don't enhance that. In fact, they usually reduce the photosynthetic base. And above that are the herbivores, and above that are the omnivores, and then the carnivores. Most people don't appreciate that humans now use about 40% of the energy that's generated by that basis. And that's incredible. And people wonder, why are all these species going extinct? Well, no mystery about it. We're crowding them out.
That's it.
We're using the available energy.
That's in that new book we're going to discuss here.
In January, the 6th
Yeah.
extinction,
Yeah.
where
Well, I think I'll stop there. For anyone who would like to have this, it's really amateurish. I don't plan to do anything more, but I'd like to
Can
see.
I make a copy?
Did you get one of my copies? You can have that. You can have that. Contact me anytime later and I'll make you up a copy of this. And as a matter of fact, I've got to add item number 10. You all send in suggestions and I'll add it. What's wrong with capitalism? And we know that it's more than 9 things. Shall I list the others just real quickly? Then I was thinking about capital accumulation, growth, monopoly, the seeking of consolidation for more profit. That's in the Democrat Gazette business page every damn day. Another company. If we can just control this much of the market here and this much here, it's squeezing out the competitors. It's so obvious. Number five is advertising. I had a course at the university in the English department that was partly analyzing advertising. There's an analytic category I could add here, and that is direct action. That is the analysis of advertising in K through 12 is to me would be an imperative. Little kids can understand this, but people don't. The rulers of the society don't want children to understand that.
There's some great films about it.
There are plenty, and there are plenty propagandist films. In fact, every TV program is an ad of capitalism, isn't it? Every one, we're just saturated. Number 6 is hostility to government. That is government oversight. Number 7, hostility to taxes, which provide the services for people. Which, did you see the paper today? At least 3 articles on the shrinkage of services. Now there's pushback, there's struggle, but the Democrats in the legislature, I'm talking about the state, the Democrats in legislature are just really overvoted now. Number 8 is using the GDP for a moment, I've forgotten what it is, gross GDP.
Gross domestic
Gross
product.
domestic, yes. Using that as the sole measurement of economic success is one of the evil things of capitalism. They push that.
So people have suggested an alternative measure of gross national progress or something like that.
Yes, they have.
I forget what they call it.
Well,
Has there been any
well-
success along that line? Could we actually change it to be something more people-friendly?
As a matter of fact, you all help me. One country has done that, and it's either
Gross happiness.
Bhutan.
Gross
Gross national happiness.
Bhutan?
Bhutan. See? So it's
I
possible.
need to say this, where is Bhutan? Is that in the middle?
Himalayas.
No.
Oh, in Himalayas, yeah,
Yeah.
right, okay.
And then nine, which maybe I would normally put first, are wars and imperialism to protect the resources, to acquire and protect the resources we have. Now, please, you all, we have a few more minutes, and I hope that's been helpful, and who hasn't had a chance to speak and want to talk?
I have a couple things I'd like to say. I just, this is very good, this, and in terms of solutions, I think it's real important for us to, I believe that there's no competition or no need to decide between solutions that have more to do with personal responsibility that Jeannie's putting forward, or top-down solutions that Shelley's putting forward. Because, and I'm much influenced by John Seed about 15 years ago with a speech that he gave here, that mentioned very clearly that in his opinion at that point, we're way beyond that point now, that we don't have the luxury of not doing both of those things. Actually, our only hope is batting 1,000 at this point. We've got to make personal, the problem is that there's not time for personal changes to hold off the catastrophe that climate change is imposing on us. And we need almost a magical top-down solution, which Carbon P is very hopeful for, and we can't go without that. But we also have a lot of other things that are going on that are more complex, species, the extinction issue, and a whole bunch of other issues that might be better dealt with by divestment and such things like that, and a personal responsibility. And we have to have, both those have to operate almost perfectly.
Or let me just interpose here about South Africa. The BDS program, I understand, was very influential in forcing South Africa to change its policy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Boycott,
Disinvest.
disinvestment, and BDS sanctions.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
The thing that gets me is, there are Republicans that actually admit that climate change is happening and we're responsible and that something must be done. But they always emphasized adaptation. Well, yeah, we have to build more seawalls and levees and stuff like that. But in the paper I wrote for the Arkansas Academy of Sciences, adaptation without mitigation is just
It's crazy.
foolishness.
Right.
If you don't mitigate, adaptation will be endless, and you will wind up without any civilization, with hardly any civilization at all, because all your coastal infrastructure will be gone, and God knows how many quadrillions of dollars we've poured into that infrastructure. But once it's gone, what is left of your civilization? Not a whole lot. And so, mitigation, you've got to have adaptation, because climate change is already occurring. And even if we stopped putting greenhouse gases in the atmosphere today, the Earth system has gotten enough inertia in it that we may very well have already lost the Greenland ice cap. And that's like 20 feet of sea level rise, plus, and that's what happened in the last interglacial 125,000 years ago. But we're also destabilized the West Antarctic ice sheet. And that's an additional 20 to 30 feet of sea level rise. So if you don't mitigate and figure out a way to start sucking greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere and sequestering them, civilization as we know it is gone.
As he says, barbarism. Yeah, all right, let's look at it. Thank you all. Is there any other comment for anyone? I know you all have other things that you need to do.
Could I put in one last hopeful note?
Go ahead.
Maybe there are other last notes. We all wonder what to do. We've got a network of problems. They all interact with each other. This problem makes this one worse, and this one makes this worse, and so forth. And where do you attack the whole damn thing? You can't, no one person, no one group can really attack the whole damn thing. That's the reason for something like CCL, which attacks a part of it, a key part, but just a part. There's hope actually in the fact that it is a network. And what everybody needs to do is attack some part of the network and try to solve that. And precisely because it is a network, if you can solve this over here, that's going to spread out also to help solve some of the other problems.
Mr. Angus is absolutely eloquent on
And
that
so
very
don't
subject.
try to solve everything and figure out the system that's absolutely going to solve the whole problem of whatever the problem might even be. Take a part of it and be satisfied, but try to solve that part and realize that that's going to spread out and other people are doing similar things with the other parts. Because it is a network of problems.
And I cope with this by making sure there's a nice wine beside mine.
Yes. Wine helps, sure.
When you get ready to say something else,
Well, if we're done, I would like to make an announcement.
well, then let me say that I found this book over on this table. Does this come from you, Gladys, from OMN? So here's an extra book, a copy of this. Would you like to have it, or you, sir, if you haven't?
Would you all like? Yeah, I'd like to borrow it, if that's okay.
You want to pass it down to her?
It's good reading.
So
Okay.
you all you've summarized as much of this book as you're gonna do, and next month it's another book, or?
Another book.
And which book is it next month?
Sixth Extinction by Elizabeth Colbert.
I just bought it, and it looks interesting.
And what's the next month after that? Is it the one I'm doing?
Braiding sweetgrass, is that what it is?
I-
What is it, Gladys?
Or is it braiding sweetgrass and then the book that I'm doing?
Oh, you're doing
July and March.
And you're doing braiding sweetgrass.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you repeat the book for next month, so I can get it?
Now,
Six Extinction.
By Elizabeth
The
Colbert.
sixth extinction.
sixth extinction. But listen, would you please give our crew your address so they can be in touch? Good. They'll be letting us know.
In February, then, I'm gonna be leading the discussion about this book, and if anyone would like to read
I just borrowed
a
it.
copy of this book, it's available.
Is it
Okay.
okay?
But listen, your
Can I
question
get the
about,
name from you, and I'll try to get the book? Thanks.
your question is this the only time we're going to discuss this? We have discussed some books twice, and this is one of them, so that it is always possible to discuss a book twice.
March.
And can
Yeah.
I just bring up
Yes.
this? The issue about having conversations is really important. So we have a plan, AMI is sponsoring a series of 4 community meetings in response to the election, where we're hoping that AMI members and friends will get together and talk about our feelings about the election and what we see personally as responses that we'd like to make, and how we might together work to get through the next 4 years. And on the next Sunday, it starts next Sunday, or on the 11th, we're going to be talking about race and immigration issues, and how to support communities of color or other people who might be vulnerable, that might come under threat in the new administration. The week after that, we're going to be discussing,
Can we remember all of that? Will you have
the
that?
next one is the critical piece, which is the environment. So the following Sunday, which I don't remember what that
It's the
is.
18th.
The 18th.
And please check, you have to correct your email, it said the 8th.
Oh,
So
yeah,
make sure
okay.
that it's
At the 18th, we will be discussing the environment. And this is a pretty important issue for this group in particular. And it also is something that we've got to get some really solid thinking about this, because there is going to be a lot of support is gonna have to be determined. So knowing what things we are aware of, people are doing, groups are doing, and what we might do to support the issues that we care about. This is gonna be a significant issue over the next few years. So those are both things I hope that this group will come to. On the 18th, it will be at,
Is that on a Sunday?
1 p.m. It's on a Sunday afternoon.
That'd be 14th plus 18th, okay.
Well, all of you watch for Gladys's newsletter. It comes out on Friday. It's called Happening Still, and it's wonderful. It's in color, and you can keep up to date with what Omni is doing. If your memory is short, you need that.
Can I ask a quick question, Gladys? How outreaching is that? How many people does that reach? I'm hoping for new
Newsletter?
energy into those
Newsletter.
4. How many people does that reach?
It goes to about 1,000 people.
Thank you.
That's impressive.
But, you know, we want to do additional publicity for that.
Yes.
So if anybody wants to help Gladys do publicity, it would be a great thing to
I'm glad to do
volunteer
that.
to help.
And I hope you all understand that this had the best publicity I'm capable of doing.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that it results in this. I went to every possible group I could have imagined, and many, many individuals, and
This is a typical number.
I don't think I mentioned Marks anywhere.
Well, so when people get this newsletter, which will have the updated information that says the 18th on it,
Okay.
please share it with your lists, because that will be helpful.
Okay.
We all have a different set of friends.
But I was volunteering to help with publicity, and I was saying that maybe I'm not the person to do it.
Send it to your list. That's good.
I have an announcement, if we're done, and yesterday, many of us were at the legislative pre-conference of the Citizens First Congress, and there's a super lobby day coming up on January 25th. As you all know, we are dealing with a supermajority in our legislature, which is really bad. They can override any veto, even if Asa Hutchinson has the heart to veto something that they come up with. So our only hope in influencing these people is with mass mobilization. On January 25th, the first lobby day that they are having all of the caucuses come to make a really strong show of force. It would be so nice if we could have enough people that we actually have to rent a van to get down there. And it's January 25th. There are 4 other lobby days. They're all important. But I will mention the environmental one, which is March 7th. I don't want to confuse you with dates at this point, but I'll be sending it out. But the Super Lobby Day, January 25th, is absolutely the most important one.
Is it a Monday, Tuesday?
Super, I wish I could tell you. Does anyone have a calendar?
But are we all on your mailing list? Oh, Gladys is in Shelley's mailing list, and Gene, who has mailing list? Be sure we're all on them so that we can know what's coming up. Thank you all for coming. It's been just like.
And let me ask something.
March 7th is a Tuesday.
Aubrey has it.
How many of you have ever watched my video from these meetings?
I have.
It's 3,
Yeah.
4 sometimes.
Where do you find them?
He posts them on the Omni Facebook page for one thing.
See, I don't take Facebook.
They're on YouTube, and I put the link during the night whenever I finish these. I put them on YouTube. It takes hours to load them. And then I put the link on YouTube. And I put them in the order when they're all done that you'll see the first part, second, third, fourth, whatever. So if each of you who does get on Facebook and other or whatever would send the link to a friend, then more people would know about all this work that goes into this committee. And, that's the only reason I do it is for the public later.
Can I send that information out, email?
Yes, you may.
If someone will send it to me, Aubrey, and be sure and add a note, tell me what
Okay,
to do.
yeah,
I'll do it.
I'll send you the links, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question after you, Aubrey. I have another question before anybody leaves. Any more response to Aubrey?
Just a big thank you for your ongoing role in documenting everything that goes on around.
Well, I hate to sound like I'm complaining, but, you know, I sit and listen, and then I've been gone, but I listen to these again.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, I don't know what Dick was saying while I had to go to the restroom in the coffee pot.
My question was someone going to discuss a group relating to 350.org? We've been emailing back and forth to each other, and we thought it might be discussed here for just a few minutes.
Sorry.
Anybody? Jeannie, you brought it up. Kelly, did you
I
bring it up?
I have a couple of things I'd say about that. I think maybe this is not the right time, but I think that meeting on the 18th, you know, Omni has been strong, just by random chance, we've been really strong in legislative efforts, and we're strong in this educational effort that this group represents. But we're not very strong in a lot of other environmental angles that Jeannie is mentioning here, and another one, like animal agriculture, for instance, which is my big thing. And there's room for movement, and there's room for expansion, and the 18th would be a great, if anybody wants to expand Omni's role, you know, show up at that meeting and say you want to lead the movement. You know, we need leaders. We need people that are willing to put boots on the ground.
That's the thing to do.
But
Need leaders, volunteers.
it's all, you know, we could be better. We could be a lot better. But I'm so thankful that CCL is so strong.
Well, CCL would be thrilled to network with Bill McKibben's 350.org if we could
Sure.
start one here. I mean, that definitely, it is an aspect that we have not been able to represent because all of our efforts are going to where it's going. But I mean, but if we had more leaders, the better.
Sure. And shouldn't Omni have a solar and wind, a
Exactly.
sustainable committee to balance or to complement, I mean.
Compliment.
Anyway, thank you all, this has really been a.
We just asked Jeannie for.
I beg your pardon?
Right. So I was the one that first suggested that we might, at the community meeting, discuss the possibility of having a local 350 group that would be affiliated with the national